Hi, this is Phil Kaveny, Acting Chairman of the Western Wisconsin Ad Hoc Committee for the Restoration of Net Neutrality. And one of the things I want to talk about is a follow-up of something that's been developing across time. And I'm going to try to take the confluence of my intellectual interests with something practical and pretty awesome. Part of the reason that I want to do this is I believe that, having been associated with universities my whole life, one of the wonderful things about a university and about intellectuals is they're situated in the community. And part of what's happened recently, which is sort of sad, is that we have a number of intellectuals now who speak of their expertise in a very small way. And what I mean by this is that a lot of the big questions have been sort of studied and discussed. So if you end up writing a PhD dissertation now, you might write about something very small, or seemingly small, as part of a bigger question. For example, I've spent my whole life studying economics. And the economics I used to study was called Keynesian economics. And it basically involves a governmental presence to deal with economic downturns, safety nets, investment in infrastructure, and it also deals with people the way they really behave economically. Well, as part of just doing what I do and working on the internet, I came in contact with something called behavioral economics. And in doing that, there's a couple people who are really significant. The first one is Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2003 for something called prospect theory. Now, this is getting a little esoteric, but I'm going to bring it back down to the planet Earth pretty quickly. And what it says is basically economics assumes rationality, optimum functionality to make the most economically advantageous decision. And in doing so, according to neoliberal economics, everybody acting in their own interests will act in everybody's interest through the regulatory mechanism of the invisible hand. But what these behavioral economists started to do was say, well, people aren't really rational. And it turns out that they have embedded bias. And they tend to, when they look for things and they want to make a decision, they suffer from something called confirmational bias, which means you only look for the information that supports your thesis and you don't contest that which doesn't. Well, so what I'm loving about Daniel Kahneman is he brings in the idea of intuition, type 1 and type 2 cognitive processing. And a way he thinks about this is called thinking fast and thinking slow. And he points out that a lot of the decisions that we make thinking fast. And in the process of thinking fast, we don't make necessarily good decisions, but we think we've made good decisions because we have this confirmational bias. And that's where you look for stuff that says, I did the right thing, I did the right thing, I did the right thing, instead of looking for information which might actually say, well, I don't know if I did the right thing. The other part about cognitive processing, and this is why I've recently unfriended some people, is you'll find that people are under cognitive illusions. And surprisingly enough, what that means is that they're so full of biases that it's almost impossible to talk to them. Not only is it impossible to talk to them, but it's exhausting. I have a relative like that. And I wanted to tell him how my study of behavioral economics had affected a major purchase, which I just made. Okay, I'm going to do a parenthetical now and say one of the things I'm doing as chairman of the Western Wisconsin Ad Hoc Committee for the Restoration of Net Neutrality is show how having high-speed available internet access can actually have a positive and stimulating effect on the local economy. Well, I tried to explain this to somebody who hates everything I believe in. Basically because I had listened, and read the books of Richard Thaler, another Nobel Prize winner in economics. He made a comment indicating the way that corporations ignore advice of economists that made me think, well, if it's from a Nobel Prize winner in economics, and he's talking about a really good car rebate program that a dealer had been offering General Motors in the 80s, the thing I would do was I would get on the phone with my Kia dealer and see if they had the same kind of rebate program available to buy a new Kia. And as a matter of fact, they had the program available. Here it is. Here it is. This is the key fob for the brand new Kia Soul Black that we bought from Prestige Kia in Eau Claire as a result of me using the internet as a public intellectual and stumbling on Richard Thaler, who gave me a tip which I could apply to get an unbelievably good deal on a brand new car. Well, I was trying to tell this person what I'm telling you in this discussion, arguing for the relevance of internet access, trying to dissuade the idea that it would take business out of the community, but all he could say was, I hate Kias. And I thought, geez, I've invested so many times. He's a Trump follower, he's a birther, he's a lot smarter than he acts when you talk to him. And I've spent so much time trying to dissuade him from these illusions that I talk to him and I end up getting into a fight with my wife because I'm so frustrated. So I said, well, I'm sorry, but you're just too stupid and expensive to talk to. I'm burning up my brain trying to explain this stuff to you, and all you want to tell me is Barack Obama didn't deserve a Nobel Prize and he wants to cover the country with moss. Well, you're on my no-call list, buddy, because my time is way too valuable for this, and I got to extend these benefits to a lot of other local people, because we got a jewel here in the Eau Claire environment, and faster, cheaper, maybe library-sponsored internet access can give everybody the kind of opportunity that I've got. And I hope you're watching this tape, and I hope you get really mad, because I'm not going to talk to you again. Well, thanks for watching, and I'm going to do another one back to back, and I'm going to talk more about several important books that I've read over this last few months that have had life-changing impact on me.